You're watching Grassroots Resistance Collective, Texas grown, people powered, and unapologetically bold. We expose corruption, amplify real candidates, and give voters the truth the system tries to bury. No spin, no sellouts, just resistance. Let's get to work.
All right, everybody. Happy Tuesday. It is September 30th, and we are here today with Zach Herbert. He is running for House District Representative for District 112. Welcome, Zach. Great to have you here. What's going on, Jen and Chastity? How are y'all doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing awesome. Zach, once again, thanks for being with us. If you just want to go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience, we can start there.
Sure, yeah. I'm Zach Herbert. I'm a Marine Corps veteran. Been in this district for over 10 years now. I have been married for a little over 20 years. I have 4 kids, and all 4 of them are in public school here in Richardson. And I also own a law firm in Richardson, and I've owned that law firm since 2017. So we're going to celebrate our 8-year anniversary here in a month. And that's me. That's who I am.
That's awesome. Who is currently in that seat now at District 1 in 112?
Right now it's Angie Chin Button. She's the Republican incumbent. She's been there since 2009, I believe.
2009.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 16 years.
Yeah.
So what I guess what compelled you to enter the race?
Well, a lot of things. From living in the district and having the perspective of somebody who has a representative and doesn't really know very much about what the representative does, year after year, I would see the policies that were going forward in Austin and how they would affect me and my family. And every year that she won, I would look at my wife and I would say, what's going on here? I think I could beat her. And my wife would roll my eyes at me and say, we're never getting into politics. So I think one of us changed their minds. But no, eventually it's the climate. It's what's going on in this country. It's the conversations that we're having with our neighbors. It's just what we're seeing on the news that in the last 5, 6, 7 years, I think my wife and I have become a little scared, a little more involved, and a little more passionate than we have previously. And it was just the right time for us when we were approached to run for this office. And I think it's the right time to flip this district, one of the last 2 in Dallas County that are still red.
Yeah. And if you look at the demographics of your district, as long as you go out and talk to people and you're a real, I live in the next district over, guys. My representative is Anna Maria Ramos. So I'm super excited for what you're doing, and I've seen the damage that has been done during her tenure. I think you're going to do great. Just talk to people, be their neighbor, let them know that you are not there for the establishment, and that's all it's going to take, because that's who Angie Chen Button is. She's an establishment Republican who only cares about her donors.
Well, yeah, and Anna Marie, big fan, and she flipped her district when she first ran.
Yep.
And so I'm just trying to take a page out of her playbook, I guess. But I actually tried to talk to Angie Chin Button a couple of times this past legislative session because there's a couple of bills that were really close to home for me, and I wanted for her to hear from a constituent, somebody who, she represents. I thought that's the whole point of representative government, right? And I got nothing back, not even that form letter, thank you for, whatever. I got nothing. And the bill that was going up that she eventually voted yes for, which eventually didn't pass, was going to hurt my business. It was SB 30. SB 30, as it was written, would have completely gutted personal injury law in Texas.
Yeah.
It would have been very bad for injured victims of car wrecks or truck wrecks or any other kind of negligence. And it was written by Texans for Lawsuit Reform, this PAC that is funded by giant corporations and insurance companies. And we fought a lot for it. We had our clients go down to Austin and testify against this bill. It eventually got watered down a little bit, so it wasn't as scary. But all along the way, I wanted to talk to my representative. This was something that I thought she should hear from me, a guy who lives in her district and owns a business that would be affected in her district, and I got nothing back from her. And she voted yes on it, which it seems to be, as I'm digging into her legislative history, kind of the de rigueur. That's just what she does. Is a rubber stamp for special interest groups. Whoever has paid her the most money. By the way, she accepted over $250,000 from Texans for lawsuit reform this past year, and that's why she's voting the way she's voting. She's voting with those giant donations, and she's not the only one.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So what do you think that you will do differently?
Well, I'm just one guy, right? I mean, we're still a minority party down there, and I think that one more district is going to be a lot more better than one less. I know that there are still good Republicans on the other side. I know that they exist because I was raised by Republicans.
Mm-hmm.
My parents were both Republicans, and in the 90s, they're a very different group of people than they are now from my own experience. I understand those ideals. I understand where they come from. And I know that there are still Republicans out there like that. I have neighbors that would never vote for Trump in a million years, but they still call themselves Republicans.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I feel for people like that.
Absolutely.
And I think that I could reach across the aisle and get some things done, because I know that Republicans don't want the government in their business, right?
Absolutely.
The
Absolutely.
tenet of what a Republican is. They don't want the government in their business. And you know what? Neither do we.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of things that are going on right now, and the government is in our business. And I'm looking around going, why? Why are we legislating our beliefs the way we're doing right now? This is infringing on the rights of so many other Americans, and it's completely American and anti-Republican as far as I can tell.
It's definitely it's definitely put like current Republicans in a weird spot, because it's either you're MAGA or you're not, or you're like a crying liberal, and that's what that that rhetoric is just so toxic and dangerous. It sounds like we're saying it over and over, but it's dangerous to democracy when you have people who are just afraid to speak up because of what they'll be labeled as. Like right now, I lost my train of thought, but yeah, I totally agree.
Well, you talk about toxic, right?
Yeah.
And we have leaders right now that are spewing this toxic rhetoric.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm in the Marine Corps. I've learned leadership.
Mm-hmm.
They had us go through, even though I went in after law school. So I was a Marine lawyer or a judge advocate, and they still make all of the Marines go through the same training pipeline. So I went through officer candidate school, and then I went through the basic school, and then I finally went through Naval Justice School, which was the MOS school for lawyers. And that is a lot of leadership training that I got, and I served with a lot of really a diverse group of people that came from all walks of life. But the one thing about being a leader that I was taught was that you have to eat last. If there's a chow line, you make sure that your Marines go first, and you're a servant leader. And that was something that growing up, servant leadership was taught from Christian principles that my parents espoused. And so this servant leadership kind of theme of my life has been, maybe even a little naive. I think that that's how our leaders should be. Here in America, we should have leaders that serve the people, that serve the interests of the people that they represent. But instead, you have this national stage, and you have a leader that's pointing fingers at people, stirring up things, creating more strife, and it's a scary time, honestly, for all of us.
That's something I actually would like to touch base on, because today has been an eventful day nationally. I don't know if anybody's been paying attention. In regards to particularly the military, how are we feeling about the tone of things as
Right.
far as the messaging from the administration to our active duty military personnel? How do you feel?
Well, I got to tell you,
Yeah.
I talked about the military being diverse. It's very diverse. Not a lot of people think that when they think of, especially Marines. They think we all look alike, right? We're all the jarhead, square jaw, that sort of thing. But the Marines that I served with, like I said, all walks of life, in all different belief systems too,
Right.
and Democrat and Republican alike. Um, and I saw a Marine Corps that was inclusive when I was in. I saw a Marine Corps that one of the things that we would say, Tovar, you probably heard this, that we all bleed green, right? And that was the Marine ethos, is that we're all in a brotherhood, or in a family.
Yeah.
And when I was first of all, when I got in, don't ask, don't tell was still a policy. And I had to sign don't ask, don't tell paperwork, which was very interesting. And then 1 year after I got in, they repealed don't ask, don't tell. And so I'm thinking we're taking steps forward. Look at us. The Marine Corps is doing great. In fact, there was a Marine that I served with that transitioned when she got out, and then she went back in on active duty as a female. She was a male whenever she was in, and then she transitioned back as a female. The Marine Corps accepted her.
That's awesome.
And she had this great career ahead of her, and she was, it was an amazing journey. But they've kicked her out. She's been kicked out. And I feel like we take these steps forward and then 2 steps back. And seeing what I saw today, talking about how we're going to do away with anything that has inclusiveness. We're going to do away with anything that has whatever this woke thing is they keep saying. Anything that has even, and a very dangerous one was even reporting. I think that he was talking about victims of sexual assault. We're going to do away with that too. It seemed that he was intoning, at least, if he didn't say it specifically. Yeah. And it scares me. That's not the Marine Corps that I was in. That's not the Marine Corps that I think a lot of our veterans are proud of. And I don't know what's going to happen next, but it's another scary thing.
Yeah. Welcome to the apocalypse, ladies and gentlemen.
Great time to get into politics, right?
Oh my God.
I think this is I think this is the best time for leaders and people who are in the military to get in politics and just throw themselves in it. I saw today. What I saw today was pretty much fear. I know for a fact there were generals in that room that were just, who the hell is this guy? Telling us that he's gonna take our rank or that we need to fall in line. Like, I know for a fact there's a ton of generals that were just looking at Trump like if he was a blabbering fool, which he is. But yeah, as far as that meeting is concerned, like, there's a reason he wasn't received with thunderous applause and like the usual.
Right? I was happy with that. I was like, good. There's not a lot of
me too.
Not a lot of applause or oorahs or anything going on in that.
The only time I heard like a big reaction was when he made the comment about taking your jobs and your ranks, and then they all laughed and kind of like,
yeah, right, you creep.
Oh my God. Like, why do we need to talk about the Gulf of America for 12
Oh, dude, yes.
And his eyes were closed the whole time. Like, Grandpa, come on, wake up.
Yeah. I think the most dangerous thing was talking about how there's a war here.
Yes.
They don't wear uniforms. And I was like,
the enemy has a vote. Pete Hegseth kept saying the enemy has a vote, and Donald Trump kept saying the enemy within. The enemy within. Who are they talking about, you guys?
It's anti-American is what it is, and it's dangerous rhetoric, like I talked about, that leaders should not be using their platform to spew. It really just shouldn't. You can say whatever you want to say, but it still is all going to have consequences, right? And there's a lot of people that still listen to them, unfortunately.
Yeah, and that's where we get the things that are happening, and then they're like, there's no room for hate. But then we've got Donald Trump up here saying,
we have to tone down rhetoric. The electorate needs to tone down the rhetoric. The social media influencers need to tone down their rhetoric, but the president of the United States can go.
Yeah, he can say whatever he wants.
Yes.
And then he says it too, like he's like, "Well, this is probably gonna get me in trouble, but I hate my enemy." Like, what?
Oh,
I remember that. That was, yeah.
it's just unfortunate. Like, at the end of the day, and I think we have really tried to do a good job of focusing on the issues. At the end of the day, the R or the D or the I or whatever in front of your name should not matter. What should matter is how you serve your neighbors, how you serve the members at your church, how you serve your community. That should be the focus. How you serve your constituents. And
Right.
at the end of that, the administration is not serving the constituents, and that needs to be the focus. It should not matter what party is in power. I was not happy with the last administration for a lot of things, but the economy was better. We were safer. We were improving ourselves on the world stage. We were getting healthier. We had tons of advancements in technology and infrastructure and green energy. And then here we are moving back to 1940 and pretending like that was bad. And it
Yeah.
just, I feel like I'm living in like
The Twilight Zone.
maybe a novel. Yes, it's like the Hunger Games out here.
I know, and I keep seeing like people talking about whose side were you on in the Hunger Games? Whose side were you on when you were watching Star Wars?
Always, that's what
Side
we
were
have.
you on?
This catalog of lore to tell you, and not just the lore, but we have actual history, guys. It's not that far back of how to avoid the situation, and we're just going, 5 stars on Rotten Tomatoes, like, good job, everybody. Get the message from it. Get the message from it before my head explodes.
It's so interesting that you say that, because I just had a conversation with my wife not too long ago where I said, it's interesting. These are popular movies with these themes of the underdog going against some fascist regime, that sort of thing. And these are popular themes and movies that we watch all the time with great messaging. And apparently they resonate with enough people to make these companies money.
Billions.
Right? And so I'm wondering why we walk outside and we're not seeing these themes play out in our own lives. It's just a very interesting disconnect there. That's so interesting that you just said that, because and see, I try cases in front of a jury, right? And so I have to get 12 strangers to care about another stranger. That's my job. And a lot of times that's impossible, right? It just depends on who you've got in the box that day. We pick them from usually 30 to 40 people, and it's a deselection process, meaning we don't get to pick the ones we like the most. We just get to flip down the cards if you're playing Guess Who, if you're old enough to know that game.
Yep.
But, I talk to the 40 people in voir dire, and I ask them questions about bias. And one of the things that I always do whenever I start is I say, raise your hand if you're biased. And nobody ever raises their hand.
I'll raise my hand.
Well, there's always...
Well, I'll say, what are we talking about?
Then I say...
In general.
Then I say, who's a Cowboys fan? And who's an Eagles fan? And who doesn't care about football at all? And I said, well, see, here's the thing. If this was a case about the Cowboys versus Eagles, you fans would be horrible for the jury because you're biased, right? You guys that don't care, you would be perfect. And so now I talk about bias, and everybody raises their hand, right? It's a nasty word, but everybody has it.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody already has those inherent biases, maybe the plural, I don't really know. And that's the problem that we have, I think, in this country as a whole, is those people that think I don't have any biases, right? I'm unbiased. I'm the one that's got all the answers, and I don't need to listen to anyone else or their viewpoint because I know the right way. I'm just going to put on my red hat and go, put up the flag in my front yard and not listen. And that's the problem, is not listening, not having a conversation with everybody. Going back to what you were talking about earlier, is being able to know R or D, just having conversations with your neighbors, with other people.
About the things that are affecting you. That's I always say this. You've got to stop voting based off of party allegiance. You have to vote based off of the issues that are affecting you and the people you care about and the people that you love and the people that you know. We can't hurt people. That's my biggest problem here is we're hurting people, intentionally hurting
people.
Intentionally hurting people. There was a time where we could look at something and we could say this one's the greater good of a bill, but now the bills are so ridiculous, they're just intentionally hurting people.
Yeah.
Right.
No,
they're stripping people of constitutional rights, some of these bills.
yes.
I mean, especially the one that I talked about earlier, it would strip Texans from having due process, pretty much.
Right. And that bill specifically is the one that would have reversed what Greg Abbott was able to benefit from.
It's already been reversed what he was able to benefit from. I mean, that happened back in 2005 with the initial tort reform legislation for medical malpractice and the like. That's happened. Like, we've been at war, personal injury attorneys, with this tort reform movement for decades, and they're chipping away at us every legislative session, just making it harder and harder. I think the thing that was wrong with this bill, and they already know this, so I can go on record saying it, is it was probably just asked for too much. And they're going to come back in 2 years and they're going to try again, and they're probably going to have a better worded bill. And I'm hoping that I'm going to be there so that I can testify about it. And I can teach my fellow legislators, hey, this is why this is wrong, because it hurts people, like you said, Chance.
Well, I hope that if you get into office, that I know as a freshman, they treat people that are freshmen differently, but I hope that you have an intention of maybe making bills that make these types of things harder for them to do.
Yeah.
I really, really, really want to see representatives that are representing the people and trying to enforce that representation by limiting the power that lobbyists have to purchase the souls of our reps.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's why we're not represented. Because they're all for sale. Mm-hmm. Everybody's got a number, I guess. And I can understand that when you're only making, $30K with your per diem a year or every 2 years. You know what I mean? I can understand that this cannot be your full-time job. So you have to work like everybody else has to work. Heaven forbid, right? But it's not meant to, none of these positions are meant to be lifelong staples. They're meant for you to do your civic duty and represent the people that are in your district and then move on. They're not meant to be lifetime jobs, and you shouldn't be financially benefiting off of the harm that you're doing to the people that you represent.
Right.
I like that statement, but I'll tell you, the kind of going off of what you're saying, maybe not agreeing with you 100%, but I will tell you this system that we have in Texas, the get paid $7,200 a year and work for 4 months every 2 years, and then special sessions after that. It's a system that precludes people like teachers being able to do it, right? It's a system that precludes police officers and firefighters and people with jobs that really should be in the legislature, the people that would represent the large swath of Texans. That's the problem. The problem is the system that we have. The fact that I'm able to do it because I own my own business, well, that's my privilege showing, right? I shouldn't be able to. It shouldn't be something that only I can do. There should be a lot of challengers in the primary against me. But I've talked to people that have been thinking about running for this position, and one in particular, she works for a nonprofit. She would be great for this job, but she can't go down to Austin for 4 months every 2 years. She would lose her income if she was going to do that. And I don't know what the perfect system is. It probably doesn't exist, but I do know that there are other states that have full-time legislatures. There are states that pay more. There are states that go during the summertime only. These are things that could actually have representative government, but there's a lot of things that I think that the people that are in charge right now are doing they're laying the boundaries up there to keep the representative government from actually happening. I mean,
don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that they should not be compensated. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying that you should not be so hard up by having to work 2 jobs to be a rep and another job, that you are willing to sell
take
your
money.
soul to a lobbyist.
Yeah.
And anytime you're taking money from these people, you owe them something,
Correct.
right? These
Yeah.
things they're not just giving you money because they think you're a great person. They're giving you money for you to do a job,
Right.
right? And that's the problem, because the job that they want done hurts people. We just went through, the way that we all found each other was through SB3, the hemp bill.
Okay.
I own a dispo.
It's like, it's that kind of party, huh?
Yeah. That's how this all started. This is how we all found each other. And how this all started was SB3. And we were ferociously attacked by the alcohol industry, by
Medical
the teacup
cannabis.
program, the teacup program lobbyists, by
Big cannabis.
our own, people in our own industry that were attacking the smaller businesses, because everybody just wants to be the leader. Everybody wants something, right? And it's not, the something that they want isn't for everybody. It's just for themselves.
Mm.
And so my point here is, I do believe that you guys should make more money. $7,000 is not enough. Plus the per diem at that makes it like 30,000. But you still actually have to use that per diem. So you're really only making $7,000.
I know, right? Yeah. You still got to eat.
If you don't live in Austin, you're just kind of screwed. So I do think that you guys should be compensated, but I don't think that we should be less. I think that it needs to be a job, but not a job that you stay in forever, or that you risk the want to take that money because you don't make enough.
And imagine if it was only done in the summer. Man, that would get stuff done so quick. Summer in Austin.
Nobody wants.
Oh my God.
Nobody's gonna want to stay there. No one's gonna want a second session.
Everybody gets to go home before like 2 p.m.
Yeah.
Right.
No dress code anymore.
Well, I just was listening to a podcast that was talking about Greg Abbott, and he's taking money from these companies that he's awarding no bid.
Yes. Yeah, I saw like $2 billion. Is that the one you read? Yes.
In the billions
Yes.
of dollars. And
That's
it's just-
crazy.
This is another example, like what you're talking about, Chastity. This is another example of that, outright fraud that's going on with the people that are in power. Where, and man, I could talk a lot about this one because it affects a lot of different things. Small businesses.
Yes.
That's the first thing I thought of when I heard that. Okay, these pay-to-play guys that have hundreds of thousands.
They already have money. They're already successful.
Right. And then they get millions of dollars in return. Then you have small businesses that now they can't compete. They can't compete with that. And they're just going to suffer. And it seems as though it's always this top-down approach with the people that are in charge down in Austin. It's this, we'll make sure that all of the billionaires, special interest groups, and the large corporations make sure they make lots of money. And the rest of us are going to have to actually pay for it. It's all the way down to the level. I've talked to City of Richardson council members who say, one of the bills that Angie voted for was one that took away their ability to do a franchise tax on the telecommunications companies that have underground lines that go through their cities. So what has happened is, the telecommunications company have said, we don't want to pay this $75,000 to the City of Richardson every year. So we're going to go down to Austin and we're going to spend a few $100,000 with lobbyists, and we're going to get this bill passed. And it's not just Richardson, right? It's $75,000 to every city probably in Texas. So I'm assuming that these companies have now made billions of dollars because they got the law changed, and now that tax revenue doesn't come to the City of Richardson. And that's a big chunk, especially for smaller cities. And that's just one example of a million tiny cuts that people like us, the small business owners, the taxpayers, they have to pay. We have to pay it while the big corporations get to save money.
Yeah.
It's just not
Our
right.
ISD, for instance, is a very well-funded school district, guys. Like, our property taxes are crazy. the business taxes that people pay in this area are very high, but our school district is so well funded, and we have lost 5 elementary schools in the last 3 years.
Right.
Because we did not have the funding. So if we are a very well funded district, I cannot imagine how, when we're talking about like Mesquite and I guess Saxe and Murphy are probably okay, but when you get out to like East Texas, Rowlett and Pearland and all of these little tiny towns, how are they serving their children? Like, how are they serving the kids? We've already lost the free school lunch program. We are cutting Medicaid, so these kids are not going to have health insurance. They're losing rural hospitals, and then we're going to defund their schools. So how are we serving children in this state, in this pro-life state, in this state that's supposed to be all about protecting the children? How are we serving the children with this stuff?
I have talked about this with so many people, and it confounds me, which I don't use that word too often, but I like it for this, that we're not putting education first. This should be the top priority in our state when we're ranked at different rankings in the 40s and below.
49.
Yeah.
49th, and what is that one that's 49th?
Like, we can't even be the worst at being the best at being the worst.
It should be the most important thing that we talk about is education, because it's literally if you want to make money, right? If you want your corporation to do really well, if you want your shareholders to get all their money or whatever, if you have a smart workforce, don't you think that's going to elevate everybody? Rising tide, rises all ships. It just makes sense to me that education should be the top priority if we want this nation to compete, if we want our state to compete, if we want our just individual cities and businesses to compete. My wife is a teacher. She taught in North Carolina for the
Thank
time
her
that
for
we
her
were
service. Sorry.
What's that?
I said thank her for her service.
Thank
You
you
too,
for
the
her
teacher.
service, for sure.
The teacher.
That's some service right there. And she got her Texas license when we moved here. She started working for RISD. And but we had 2 kids in diapers at the time, and she took her take-home pay and subtracted childcare costs, and she said, "I'm making $400 a month to work 60-hour weeks.
Yeah.
I want to quit," and she did.
Mm-hmm.
And Richardson lost a really good teacher that day, and that's one of many stories. But I looked up how much the first-year teachers make now versus 2013, and if you adjust for inflation, they make less now.
Yeah.
Less per year than they did in 2013 when my wife quit. I can't imagine being able to make ends meet. And so it's not just that the teachers need to be paid, at the very least, a wage that means they don't have to take a second job in the summertime. The teachers need to be rewarded. They need to be rewarded for what they're doing. And you talked about these great schools. We have some saints that are teachers in these schools, right?
Yeah.
That have been there for 10, 20 years. And they're not doing it for the money. they're doing it because they actually truly love their job. And I wish every single teacher was like that, but it's an outlier to have somebody that really is that passionate about what they do for nothing. I mean, you don't have a lot of people that are that selfless. And it's just, that's the thing about living wage too. You got a lot of families that are working 2 and 3 jobs just to pay their rent. And that's another thing that we can change. We can change that. We can change it so that the minimum wage is a living wage, so that we would actually be able to pay our workforce something that would let them get by. And then the next thing there is, well, then you're going to pass off those costs to the small businesses, right?
Right.
See, that's another thing that I really think we could work in there is small businesses need a break. Because we're paying and the corporations are not. And so I think if we could, at the very least, just prioritize small businesses in this state so that, I mean, all of the things that I pay for as a small business owner, that I pay franchise tax, unemployment tax, I pay into the workers' comp system, I pay all of these things for my employees. If I could get a break on that, and then you say, okay, now you have to pay everybody more. Well, then it would be a wash at that point. So I think we can't just say something like raise the minimum wage without thinking about the businesses, the small businesses that need to foot the bill. The large businesses are doing okay.
For sure.
Corporations are doing fine.
For sure.
They can pay lobbyists to go against that bill, which they will.
Jeff Bezos is looking real skinny, you guys. He might need something. So when it comes to, you are a veteran, Zach. Thank you for your service. I thanked your wife a minute ago, but thank you too. How do you feel that you could serve the Texas? We have so many veterans in Texas, including homeless veterans. How do you feel that you could serve all Texas veterans better than Representative Button has?
Well, I can tell you that there are already some programs that exist that are just underfunded for veterans in Texas. I think we do care about our veterans in Texas. I just think that they're the last ones to eat, to go with my metaphor, when it comes to making this budget down in Austin. There's some great programs. There's one in Collin County right now. There's a veterans court for veterans that have been accused of crimes. They don't go through, these are low-level, nonviolent crimes. They don't go through the same system. They have their own veterans court that they can rehabilitate them and get them on their way, get them the mental health that they deserve. But if we just want to give mental health away, we are shutting down the state hospitals that were affording this mental health treatment, right? We're not funding the programs that have existed and exist right now. And then I would go a step further and expand what we've got for veterans, and copy some other states. There's a state out there, I won't name it because it's starts with a C and everybody in Texas hates that state. But there's a state that does scholarship or free tuition to state schools for disabled veterans' children. And that's something that I was so surprised when I figured out that California is doing that. We don't do that here. We do have the Hazelwood Act, which gives a free tuition for a person who goes into the military if they were a Texas resident at the time. So it's just for them, right? But there's the GI Bill that will suffice with that. So we need to do something for our wounded veterans, for our disabled veterans, so that it's their kids. They come home to these kids, and now they're not able to make ends meet because they can't hold down a normal job. And we can take care of the veterans' kids too. Those are the types of programs that I would get behind.
Absolutely. I think a lot of people don't understand that it's not just the veteran that a lot of these mental health issues affect. It also affects the family, that these people have to go through. So yeah, that's definitely something I would love to hear that's being taken into consideration in Texas for sure.
And I was really stupid, and I went in after law school. The GI Bill didn't retroactively pay for it.
Yeah.
Would have been great. But no, I didn't get that same thing. They would have paid me some more money if I had stayed in for another 5 years. They would have said, "Hey, we'll give you some money to pay for your education," but I decided to come back to Texas. I was tired of North Carolina and Camp Lejeune.
North Carolina would do that to you, for sure.
There are parts of North Carolina that I really like. They just didn't decide to put a military base there.
Yeah. North Carolina is that part of North Carolina is interesting.
And I know, Tomar, you told me earlier you were in San Diego when you were in.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
yeah. Definitely.
horrible place.
They're the opposite sides of the country for a reason.
Right? Yeah.
So one thing I wanted to talk about, we were talking about education earlier. As far as the Second Amendment goes, we don't have to get into specific situations, but we have had an obvious uptake and concern involving school shootings. What type of solutions have you, have you considered other than what's already been thrown out there that would be different when it comes to Second Amendment rights and safety?
I don't know. I have a pretty unique perspective for a Democrat, maybe, because I was raised with guns, and I went hunting my whole life. My Christmas present for when I was 8 was my first rifle. Um, my dad taught me the safety rules before the Marine Corps did. You know, never point a weapon at anything you don't intend to shoot. You remember that ditty, right, Levar?
Absolutely.
So all those weapons, and then so my dad taught me weapon safety, and then I go into the Marine Corps, and you get it really beat into your head, and you get in trouble if you they call it flagging somebody if you accidentally pointed at somebody else. Like it's very serious, and I loved it. And I was so glad that because I was serving with Marines that had never touched a gun before. And so I was very glad for that, especially when we were doing live fire ranges. That was a lot of training just to be able to shoot a live round out of a rifle. And there's no training that anybody gets to purchase a gun here in Texas. There used to be a concealed carry permit, and you'd have to go to 2 days of classes for that. But there's no need to have that anymore. And so I have 2 recent experiences. One is purchasing a gun, which took 30 minutes, and a background check, and they let me leave with a gun, right? And I think they handed me an iPad, and I checked a bunch of buttons. By the way, one of them was, do you have any mental health problems? And I checked no, right? And I wanted to ask the guy, but he would probably think I was weird. You know, what if I checked yes? Would this do anything?
So it will. So real quick, but we'll get back to it. But it's a lot of veterans do have trouble answering that questions on a check. I mean, on a background check.
What kind of mental health problems? They got a lot of anxiety sometimes.
Yeah.
That's like, should I have checked yes? I don't know. So then another one was, I thought this was interesting. If you've had a dishonorable discharge, they asked me that if you had a dishonorable discharge in the military if you served, which I didn't realize precluded you from owning a weapon either. Anyway, I got it really quick. My 15-year-old has recently gotten his learner's permit, and we had to make 2 trips to the DMV in order for him to get that learner's permit, and we had to have 10 forms of ID. I'm exaggerating. And we had to have all these bills, and the bills weren't right because they weren't in our name, and they didn't have the address on them. And then we had to have so many documents. My wife was carrying a giant bag full of documents, and then we had to do it again.
The diaper bag.
Appointment to be able to actually get him this learner's permit, and it was really close because there was one thing we hadn't done, and that was go on the TDLR website and pay them $20, which they let us do, on our phone at the appointment. That was to get the learner's permit. That was to be able to learn how to drive a car, right, with another driver in it. And I know that everybody makes the comparison to driver's licenses and gun ownership, and driving is not a constitutional right, right? Driving is a privilege, and it's state specific, and the states are allowed to run it however they want. Now they have to follow the Constitution. They can't deny people a license because of unconstitutional grounds. But I really think that this whole getting a license thing should at least be as hard, if not harder, when it comes to purchasing a gun. Like it should be a little difficult. It should have some things that you've got to do, at least a class, to learn how to use it properly, because it's not just school shootings that are killing our kids. It's guns that aren't locked up at home. It's guns that kids are playing with that their dad has, or it's dad because he's never learned how to use a gun, but he knew he wanted to buy one. There's a lot of, I don't have the statistics outright, but there are a lot of people that die every year just because of accidental gun discharges in their homes.
I know that happened recently in San Antonio, maybe like a couple weeks.
It's so sad. It breaks my heart. I've got kids.
Every time.
My gun is locked up, double and triple locked up in my home because I really don't want them to have access to it. I used to have a lot of rifles in a gun case, and I got rid of them all. It was too much. I didn't want them to even be in my home, and I don't go hunting anymore like I used to, so I got rid of them all. But we do have the one, and it's locked as much as it possibly can be locked, because I think it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, for sure. So in regards to, we talked a little bit earlier about SB3 and cannabis reform in Texas. In regards to cannabis reform, what are your opinions? And how do you think that you could impact some kind of change in that category? It polls so high in Texas. I don't understand how it hasn't been, like, why isn't everybody running on, I'll make pot legal, vote for me, like
I don't know.
70%.
I don't know. There's a stigma against it, I guess. I'm the product of my generation, and I've been trying to shake a lot of that generational trauma.
Yeah,
You know,
that's funny.
weed is a
Yeah,
gateway drug and all that stuff that I was told growing up. Drugs are bad. I don't want my brain to be scrambled on a plate.
that's
You know,
so crazy, man. That's so
no,
crazy.
look, we've seen it work in other states like Colorado and New Mexico. We've seen it. Actually help those states with their tax revenue. You are right that I would say a majority of Texans are for legalizing marijuana, even the more conservative ones.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know exactly why it's not, except for I have a feeling it's what we talked about with lobbies earlier.
For sure.
And you guys probably know better than I do about
Absolutely.
the alcohol lobby keeping it illegal. I think that's probably a huge thing, even though the studies have shown that it's safer and not as harmful as alcohol is. And I think everybody already knows. You take anybody off the street right now that medicinal marijuana has been proven to help patients that have chronic back pain, that have cerebral palsy. Doesn't it help with cerebral palsy as well?
Epilepsy,
Yeah.
autism.
So I think I want to legalize it for the tax revenue. I think it's a way to be able to fully fund our schools.
Yes.
Now, a lot of people say, well, we were supposed to do that with the lottery, right? And what happened there? And I think that's, guys, we got a lot of excess in Austin, and we got a lot of people in power that want to keep that power, and they're going to do anything they can. And I don't think that even if we are able to legalize marijuana, I don't think that we're going to be able to use those funds for good until we do an upset in the leadership that's down there right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that comes with listening, like you said, Chastity, earlier, in voting, with the issues, with the policies that the candidates are talking about. And that's why people probably aren't campaigning on it, because of the stigma, because there's still an older generation that thinks that you're Willie Nelson if you want pot, to be a part of.
Willie Nelson's cool.
Listen, we can talk all the crap we want about Willie, but dude's 900 years old and he's still
kicking, right?
He's in his 90s and he's still like doing stuff. That's crazy.
I saw him in an interview like a couple of days ago. I don't remember what I was watching. He's token up on TV. And
He's gonna die on stage. I think he already said it, that's his plan, just to go out on stage. Like,
that would be great. I mean, I would. I mean, what else would you like to?
Yeah.
Choose how to go.
Yeah.
That's the way to go.
Wow.
With a bang. Okay, so speaking of leadership in Austin, we have gotten word that they are voting on bills that would sell our clean groundwater to AI developers and then put the black water back into our drinking systems. Have you heard about this?
No, I have not heard about this.
It's happening here in Amarillo.
Oh no.
Is it not? Is it happening everywhere else, or?
No.
Well, I have to look it up to see, but of course that seems as nefarious as anything else.
Yeah.
To go after our drinking water next. I don't know what the long-term plan is, but I'm not going to ask ChatGPT about it.
You're gonna destroy.
I'm already on the watch list. Just tell me what the questions are, and I'll plug it into my phone.
So there's a
Not on that list.
there's supposedly an AI campus or something that Microsoft is trying to do, because Microsoft is already here in San Antonio, but they're trying to add on to it, and it's right next to Medina Lake, which is already dry. It's already a dry lake. Like, it's like historically low, and they're trying to put an AI plant right on top of it. It's just crazy. They're attacking the water now.
It sounds like everything that we've talked about so far, right? We've got this a giant corporation with a lot of money that can influence laws and politics that's going to affect all the rest of us.
Yeah.
And we're blindly, following our party lines, and we're not getting anything done. And it's just, yeah, it's frustrating. It's for sure frustrating that's happening. And, it kind of reminds me of the tainted groundwater from all of those cases. Aaron Brockovich, that's what I
Yes, I forgot about her.
We're going to need Aaron Brockovich to come in after that tainted groundwater gets us all. Well, it's happened. It's happened. The history is repeating itself.
Right? Yeah.
It's literally crazy. Going back to the lore and the history, if we just pay attention,
we've already seen this. Yeah.
Guys, spiraling today, you guys. It's crazy.
It's really, yeah. It's been a long, for sure. So what plans do you have if you do get elected? Like, do you have like any specific plans of change that you want to make specifically? Like your immediate plans, like what bill would you first author?
Okay.
Ooh, yeah, Zach Herbert, day one. What's the first bill?
First bill, well, here's my idea. I don't know if it'll be the first bill, but from my perspective as a small business owner, here's what I've seen. Okay, just to back up a little bit, I'm a Democrat mostly because of the fact that I think that if there is an easier route, if there's a selfish route, then I think people are going to take it, because I think we're all inherently selfish, okay? And that's just who we are. I'm not. It's like the bias word. I think everybody says, "Well, I'm not." I'm not. No, we all are. Because if you really think about it, if the world goes to crap tomorrow, it's going to be me and my family. I'm going to take them, somewhere, and I'm going to defend them. I'm not going to go and save the world, right? I'm going to save my family. So as a small business owner, when I hired my very first employee, I had a friend who also had a law firm, and he said to me, "Hey, here's a secret. You should hire her as a independent contractor. And if you hire her as an independent contractor, you won't have to pay her any benefits, and you'll save a lot of money." And I think that I was so glad that he told me that, because it made me realize that I never want to do that. That's against my
values.
It's against who I am. Yeah. And so from day one, I've paid all of my employees full health benefits and full, 401k and all that stuff. But when you look at my profit loss statement, more than half of it goes to employee pay and benefits. It's a huge number. And I can see how it would be so tempting to take that pie chart down a little bit and put more money into my pocket. It would be very easy to do so. Because that's what everybody does, right? The guy who told me, hire her as an independent contractor. Well, now we haven't talked about healthcare yet, but Medicaid expansion in Texas needs to happen. And I think one of the avenues that we could take is we could make it so that business owners that pay people a salary pay into, just like we do unemployment and franchise tax and to the workers' comp system, pay a percentage of your wages that you pay your employees into the health system so that they can all get Medicaid. Yeah. And so, for instance, I'm going to use fake numbers. If I paid $10,000 a month in health insurance benefits for my employees, well, if it's a percentage of what I pay them, then I could probably save $9,000 by paying into the Medicaid system as a small business owner. So I would save money if I'm paying them full benefits by this Medicaid expansion. Save money to be able to hopefully pay them a living wage, or just to be selfish and make more money as a business owner, whatever it may be. But I'm thinking about small and large businesses alike having to do that if they do business in Texas. It would probably completely fund, the healthcare that we need in Texas without even taking the billions of dollars that we're not taking right now in federal money for not expanding Medicaid in Texas. Yeah. That's something that I'm pretty passionate about, because I think it would help everyone if they had access to healthcare no matter what. And if the businesses that they're employed by are the first ones to start this program, then when you lose your job, you'd still have it. You'd get another job, and you don't have to worry about waiting that period of time before you get your health benefits or the enrollment period or whatever that is. It's very complicated. Every time we meet about health insurance, my eyes glaze over and I don't understand. And it's more money every year for some stupid reason, and they pay for less every year too. And, yeah. Privatized healthcare in the country. When we were Marines, Tovar, we had socialized medicine.
Yep.
You said the filthy word. Oh my gosh.
I know, but you'll have your arm twisted every single way to say why it's not, why it's the furthest thing, why it's different.
Yeah. But my first two kids were born on the Camp Lejeune base. Well, no, sorry. One was born in Quantico, one was born in Camp Lejeune for free.
Yeah.
So there was no bill.
Yeah, I had one in San Antonio and then the other one in San Diego, and yeah, same thing. Like.
And then I had two here in Richardson, at Richardson Methodist.
Different experience.
I think I'm still getting bills. They're $6.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we forgot about this one bill. Here I got another one. Yeah.
It was a $400 roll of gauze you forgot to pay for in 2019. Here's the interest.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And
So,
I think the other bill would be to tie teachers' pay to inflation at the very least. I don't see how both sides can't get on board with that. It needs to be something that we have to figure out how to fund, right? Like, let's just throw our hats over the fence. Let's tie teachers' pay to inflation, and then we'll figure it out. You know, how to get that money and make it. I think that might be the first thing. You talk about freshman representative. I don't know. I might be a little annoying. I think.
I hope you're a lot annoying. We want you to be a.
We want everyone to be annoying. Everybody just make noise.
Like,
I'm gonna grab Ana Marie Ramos though because I think she could protect.
oh my gosh.
She looks like you talked about being a fighter in her
She's
interview with you
incredible.
guys, right?
My daughter, I don't know if she interned for her or she volunteered for her, but during the BLM protests, my daughter was a senior in high school. She graduated during the pandemic. They had toilet paper on their graduation t-shirts. It was great. But she worked with Ana Maria Ramos during that time period. And I called my daughter a couple of weeks ago and I was like, hey, I really want to get Ana Maria on the podcast. I've never talked to her before. My daughter sent me her cell phone number. I texted this woman who's never met or spoken to me before and said, hey, you want to come on a podcast? She called me immediately. Like, I'm not a psycho. Like, that's the kind of representation
That's great.
I want. Like, I want to be able to.
Yeah.
This is what we need, and I feel that same vibe from you. And I think that maybe the fact that you're a dad and you're a local private citizen and you're a small business owner, and I think the fact that you're coming into this brand new, but without the rose-colored goggles, right?
Right.
I think we have finally reached a point in our politics where we can admit that there's assholes in every corner, and we need to be really assertive if we want to get anything done, and I think you can do that.
Okay. Well, I got to get elected first, guys.
Well,
So, where can actually, do you want to do the question first?
oh yes, we ask a question. So typically we have our interviewees answer a question from the previous interview, and then you'll give me a question for the next person that's coming on.
Sure.
So our guest last week was Nori Bolton, the Civic Sage, and her question for you was, what book changed your belief system?
Oh man. My belief system, I think, is slowly evolved over a lifetime. I can't think of any one, book that's completely changed or the direction of my beliefs. They've slowly galvanized over a lot of experience that I've had, but not completely. I'm still, I'm flexible to new ideas. But I can tell you, and this is going to sound a little hoity-toity, I think, and I don't want it to come across that way, but when I was in college, we had to read John Locke's the essay concerning human understanding. And that's the only takeaway from that is that the clean slate, the tabula rasa that John Locke's philosophy is, that everybody is kind of born with this clean slate, and your environment dictates your beliefs. right? And so it really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who you are. If I plopped you into a Christian household, you'd probably be a Christian. If I took you and I plopped you into a Muslim household, you would be a Muslim, right? It's kind of the idea behind this. But I really kept thinking about this over and over again. This is when I was a theology major, and I was going to go into I was going to be a pastor. That's why I went to college for. And it just really had me wrestle with this idea: is, am I a Christian just because I was raised Christian? And I think that you can change your environment, then you can change your beliefs. And so that's what I did. I changed my environment, and I went to California for law school. But I love wrestling with this idea. This was before I had 4 kids, and now that I've had 4 kids and I'm watching them grow up. My oldest is 15. I think a lot of things are baked in. I don't think they're a complete clean slate. I think so. They got a lot of personality from day one. So it's changed me a little bit. But that's the one I'd have to say is probably the most influential for me.
I love that. And then what is your question for our next guest?
My question for our next guest would be, what is your superpower?
Ooh, you want to hear something crazy?
No, yes.
It's like, no, leave. You are not the first person to leave that as your question.
Oh, dang. I was
You
trying
guys
to
are
think.
really into superpowers, you candidates. What's going on?
Well, they can ask what would your superpower be if you could choose anyone, but I was thinking, what's your current superpower? What do you think is your current? But I'm not the only one to ask that. That's so funny.
You are not, but it's such a good question because I think it really. I mean, it's like
I think was it did Ana Maria Ramos ask that question?
I think she did.
I think
No, I'm just copying her. You know what? I'm going to copy her.
It is a good question.
I'm going to copy her in more ways.
Cool.
She's gonna be like, he's really a fan.
No, I'm fangirling too hard now.
Yeah, let's change the subject. I'm just kidding.
I can agree around those every day. You're totally fine. Join the fan club.
She is. She's a badass.
She is.
Um,
She's probably one of the best interviews we've ever had.
for real.
Yeah.
So Zach, where can everybody find you, and how can we look you up?
Sure. Website is zachfortexas.com. The 4 is the number 4. Zach is Z-A-C-H. And then all the social has that as the handle. So it's Zach, the number 4, Texas is all the social media as well. And we've got, if anybody's in the area, we've got our first block walk happening on Saturday the 4th at 9:30 in La Casitas parking lot. We're going to get some training and some donuts, and then we're going to go knock on some doors and talk to people.
And what time was that event starting?
9:30.
9:30. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, all right, sir. We really appreciate it. We're gonna end the stream. You can hang out for a little bit after if you want. But other than that, once again, we're here with Mr. Zach Herbert, candidate for Texas House District 112. Ladies and gentlemen, we will see y'all later. Have a nice weekend. Peace.